You want an investment edge, but all you hear is noise, hype, and half-truths. Every signal is solid information, but only if you can see the bigger picture. This is where the Quasar magic happens. Weather, charts, news, all financial signals funneled into a single dashboard. Data alone isn't enough. Quasar Markets turns it into energy, sharp, clear, precise. Optimize with Quasar Markets today. Your edge when investing.
Good morning, Quasar Market Live. Good morning, traders, and good morning, BigBeat. How are we doing today, my friend?
Good, man. I think we're going to get our first look of the lines at the Apple stores around the world, right? I think there were some lineups in Beijing and some lineups around the world. So, look,
boy Tim Cook
started out yesterday talking about the markets.
Yeah, your boy Tim Cook was over in New York. I saw taking pictures with people, but he did have Jim Cramer with him. So I will warn you about that there, Steve.
I am still long Apple. I mean, I still think that I think the numbers are going to be good. Look, I'm looking forward to getting my phone today at some point in the mail. So I will also, be trying it out and seeing if I like it or not. If not, it's going back in the dustbin of life, and it'll go back to my Samsung that I like. But right now, I'm going to try the ecosystem, give it a good whirl, and make sure because look, I think that it's coming better, right? The system is better than it used to be. I know that there's still complaints about that there's going to be an update for iOS 26 just for the phone's camera is already messed up. Okay, but that's okay. Those things are fixed. But no, right now I'm looking for. I want to see how the health of the consumer is. I don't think it's healthy.
Yeah, I will say your JP Morgan agrees with you. They have raised their price target on Apple to 280 here. Was up about 1.5 points in the pre-market here, and now up about a point. So moving nicely to the upside here, Steve. It is $1 trillion quad witching day today. $1 trillion in options expire. What do you think? Are we going to chop? What's today going to be like? Going to be crazy?
That's a good question. I think you're going to see a lot of rollovers today. People are still they're not catching on. Right, in a lot of ways, they're just not catching on. They think that everything is just fine, and the economy is moving along great. You just don't look. I get it. I understand what people are saying. Good morning, Marilyn. She's a donut magnet now. I love it. We'll talk about that in a second, but look, I honestly think that when you look at the overall picture, the health of the world in general, I'm just not seeing it. Look at that, 380 on donut now. Oh my! I mentioned donut on onthestreet.com yesterday too as well. Hope I didn't start something here. Up another 4.4% this morning, about to hit $4. It definitely is.
Nice move up, and it breaks.
Oh my God! Cash Patel now called his donut a good investment. A Krispy Kreme a good investment. Okay. All right. I guess they're watching me on in FBI. Great. Just what I always needed. Look, it's very simple. The markets are its own thing, right? And yeah, Marilyn, I'll have to post if you can. I don't know if you can pull it up. Look it up for me while I speak here. Cash Patel looking at donut DUT. Yeah, it's correct.
Yeah, I don't know what that would be. Oh, looking at them.
I think we can probably pull up something with news around it. Yes. You can. He actually talked about. I'll pull it up here and I'll put it into a banner for everybody. Believe it or not, he did. All right. Let's see if I can get that.
He bought shares in it.
So yes, he did. I'm saying he liked it.
Krispy Kreme and on semiconductor. Oh, okay.
There you go.
I didn't know what you were saying there. I thought you said when he was going after it that he was like
no. I mean
or something.
Because he owns like $50,000.
I thought they were mad about the McDonald's pullout or something. So I didn't know what you were talking about.
Bought shares in Krispy Kreme donut. Look, I've been talking about Krispy Kreme donut now for about a week or two now. So when I look for stocks like that, I look for stocks like that, right? When I go after them, I look for things that are good morning, Ed. I'm picking up things that I'm interested in, right? And this one was does not go with my obviously weight loss drug situation, but thesis. But at the same time, I thought it was beaten up. And look, McDonald's is not a food restaurant place. It is to some people, but in the industry, it is a real estate business, right? They own a lot of real estate. It's important. And Krispy Kreme is the same. They own a lot of very on-demand need for real estate in those, right in the corner of a street, right? You drop by, you pick up your Krispy Kreme donuts. What's cool about them right now is that they partner with all these gas stations to also do to drop them off in there too. And I like that. You get milk and your donuts and a hot coffee, and all of a sudden, kaboom, kaboom, right? So you're good to go. But yeah, all right.
They owned McDonald's though. Remember, they were selling at McDonald's for a while, and because the demand wasn't that good. That'll be interesting because there's been a lot of talk, and I saw Casey's really took off after they sort of, there was been a lot of talk about how convenience gas stations are taking the money away from fast food and these other companies. People are just stopping in, getting their gas, and also getting their hot dog or their piece of pizza or whatever else. And I do see it. I don't see it as much here in Ohio. As I did in DC area, where you had Wawa and Sheetz. We know in Pennsylvania, that's the thing, right? They stop, they get the gas, they get a sub, they get a coffee, they do all that. And never mind down by you at Buc-ee's, where they make trips just to do it. We have our first Buc-ee's opening up down the street this year in Ohio for me. You were right.
Costco, the truckers. I mean,
I'm a fan. Don't say anything bad about Buc-ee's, or we might fight right here.
We can fight. I'm okay with it. I don't get Buc-ee's. I guess I just need to spend more time at about. I don't know.
No, you know what it is? Because you live where they have nice gas stations. Go to spots where they don't. And Buc-ee's is always a beautiful, clean gas station. The sodas always have ice. The Slurpee machine is not broken. All those things that you get at 7-Eleven and these other spots. What Buc-ee's does really well is upkeep and all that type of stuff.
All right, I'll go along with that.
You don't have to wait for a pump. They have 800 at a gas station. So again, unlike some of the others, that's nice.
I'll go along with that.
We already talked a little bit about the fact that it is Apple Day here. We talked about their price target. Steve, which one did you get?
Oh, I got the iPhone Pro Max, the 17 Pro Max. I even got the new AirPods. I have and for those of you who don't know, I'm always on my phone. Obviously, I run a business. I have the AirPod 2s here. I actually have Samsung's pods too, so I have a lot of them. One of the things that I get upset about all the time is battery power, right? How much battery can the machine handle? Can it handle me? I have an iPad next to me, as you know. I think you can probably see it over there. And I have the Mac Mini now, and I have a Vision Pro. Okay, so have I gone full boat Apple? Probably, yeah. But I also can say that I still have my Samsung phone, which we'll see if I switch it over this week. I do have Microsoft and Dell computer. So, when you talk about the consumer, they reached me, right? Meaning that I didn't go to Newegg to buy my new computers. I do have a very strong NVIDIA video card in my computer, but that I had to buy separately and install it. And then, of course, I've been building my own computers for years. That they made it so much easier for me and cheaper. So the consumer is still strong, but they are more picky now than they had been in the past. And I think that's what the difference is. I think being picky is what's happening here. And for me, being picky means better choices. And I think Apple realized that and said, okay, you know what? People want a better phone, but they also want a better camera. And I think that's one of the things that iPhone did. And they want a better battery. And they actually passed up the battery, and they were worried about heat. So they made a better battery dissipation, the vapor chamber. So there is some innovation going on. The thing that I've been complaining about, Howard.
Right, absolutely. Steve, you said you were going to be watching for what they said. FedEx, decent earnings moving up here today. You happy with what you heard there?
I'm very happy with what I heard with FedEx. I really like what I heard with FedEx. But let's be real honest about FedEx's earnings. I think FedEx was moving a lot of product around the country, right, in anticipation of all the tariffs. So over the last quarter, a lot of people were buying things based on what they thought the tariffs were, and the tariffs are now in place. And guess what? Kaboom! We saw that, and so all right, FedEx numbers are good. Guidance wasn't as good as I expected. I wanted to see a little bit better in guidance, and I didn't see that. But and I think that's why you're not seeing FedEx like up 40%, up only, I think it's like what last
1.53%.
Yeah, 1.5. Yeah, yeah. So it's already getting smacked this morning from that run, and
it was up 5% earlier, so we're already seeing a pullback.
Guidance was what got me a little bit there, but I like the numbers though. Yeah, I like the numbers a lot.
ASST Asset Management, one of the crypto companies out there, now just switched to Strive, up 15% today. Same thing, Ford, the Solana treasury company, up 2.73, some of the bigger gainers. We drive up 4% here this morning. Open Door Technologies, 2.11. So a lot of what we would sort of call the meme stocks, those things, the Chinese ADRs are moving today, Steve. Anything you're watching for on quad witching hour? Do you think we can move to the upside, or do you think we see a fade off?
Oh, I think we need to keep a diligent eye today on the markets because, quite frankly, I don't really know what they're going to do. And look, I know that retail continues to say that they're running the markets. They're not. Institutional still running the markets. Even when you have thousands and thousands of zero DTEs, there's always somebody on the other side of that trade. And guess what? It's the institutions. Zero DTEs are usually going one way or not the other, and institutions are taking the other side of that. So I think we need to be very careful when we look at those. Right. I had Jim Iorio on last night on the show yesterday, and he made a very good point that the sell-offs won't be as big in the past as, say, like a COVID or a .com or in 1929s or 87 because of the zero DTEs. It's a little bit of a pressure valve that releases a little bit. I like that answer a lot. I'm going to go with that for a while. I actually asked him if I could go with that. He's like, yeah, of course. That is an interesting point, that people are using the zero DTEs to make that release valve a little bit so that the pressure doesn't build up. What I mean by that, as we continue to push higher, the sell-offs are not going to be as strong, but it's always lately the sell-offs have been like this and this and this and this and this and this, and then by the time you get done with the sell-offs, it's oops, what happened, right? So yeah.
Yeah, liquidity would be the answer there, is that it provides more liquidity to the market, which tends to tender out the volatility. Same thing they talk about with Bitcoin with the perpetual futures. Same type of situation there. So we'll see what happens there. What did Mr. Thomas just share with us?
He's talking about gold right there. Is Engine Gold International.
Hong Kong IPO. Look at that. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. That's
IPOs in the gold market. When's the last time that happened, right? Yeah.
Yeah, nothing that big for sure for a while. Steve, on the downside, Lennar had theirs. We said we wanted to hear what they had to say. They're down about 3% here. Seen a little bit of a buying here. Again, they reflected on ongoing housing market challenges due to high interest rates and affordability issues. So again, pointed to the fact that they could get a little bit of a bump from the change in those, in the interest rate, but that we have a bigger issue, which is there.
Lennar's CEO said he sees green shoots in the housing industry. He's very excited about the housing industry in the future. So I agree. I think he's basing it on the rates coming down, even though the 10 years at 4.129%, it's going up again. So I don't think so.
I called that out, if you remember. It seems very clearly, it might have been Leishman, it might have been one of the others on there, but they pointed out that you could expect, and you might see, quite honestly, the lowest on the 30-year was the day before the announcement. So that's interesting. And when it comes to volatility today, the other thing I'll point out is we did not see the last 15 minutes of yesterday, the volatility we normally see going into a quad witching. So it's sort of historically low volatility going into it. So I'm curious to see what that means today. Does that continue, or is it now all pent up and we're going to see craziness start to hit the streets here earlier than later, so to speak?
Well, yeah, that's what I was talking about when you asked me earlier, like what kind of volatility should we expect? I don't know, because I think a lot of it will be rollovers. Talk to me at 2 o'clock, right? And talk to me at 3 o'clock, and talk to me at 3:30, and then talk to me at 4. I can answer your question, right? And if I were to pull my crystal ball out and it's got a little dust on it today, I will tell you that I don't expect a lot of volatility. But I'll tell you, I think you're looking at, well, I don't know. I mean, I mentioned it yesterday on thestreet.com. I'm going to mention it next week. I'm in New York all next week. I'm going to be on NYSE TV. I'm going to be in Schwab. I'll be back on the street. It's like crazy. And I'm going to talk about stagflation. I mean, I don't think people are really catching on that inflation is up. People are losing jobs. The economy is not as good as we think it is, right? And it's starting to really, the cracks are there, and we're seeing it. If you don't believe me, just ask Pete Thomas. He'll tell you. Gold at 36.53. You don't see gold at 36.53 unless people feel like the world's falling apart. And the dollar, we talked about that with Steve Flanagan. I'm looking forward today to talk to him a little bit later. Is starting to push up again, right? And so our products are becoming pretty cheap because of a cheap dollar. The amount of foreign buyers of our debt, U.S. government debt, is at the highest level ever. So all of those things are like saying, hey, we know you're going to fall apart, so we're going to buy your debt. Like, that's not a good sign, right? So there's a lot of things. Yeah, I think you're right. I'm watching Tim Cook now talking about no increase for tariffs, but he is talking about tariffs, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, they say they didn't raise any of their prices, but they did raise the price on one of them $100. So I guess I'd have to ask them what that was about. Steve, do you think we're going to hear anything positive, negative, indifferent? I'm surprised because supposedly out of China, the call has already happened, and I haven't seen any explosion on Twitter or Truth Social or any of the other sites from our president. But supposedly the call with President Trump and went already.
I mean, it's about TikTok, right? I mean, is he trying to talk about? One of the things that I noticed in the news media was kind of alluding to it a little bit was that there was no talk about Taiwan. That the president is getting bombarded by calls from the president of Taiwan that she is interested in, having some kind of deal or talks, and that's a problem, right? That Taiwan and China there very much could be a full-scale invasion from China into Taiwan. Okay, people are going to say, no, that's not going to happen. China's gearing up. They really are.
There wasn't going to be a 4-year war in the Ukraine. So, be careful, like you say, with underestimating what could happen here. Steve, I'm going to switch on you a little bit. Intel. At the very bottom of where it took off from yesterday, so to speak, or where it gapped up to. You think we get a gap fill to the downside here?
All right. So yesterday, Carolyn Woods, right out of the gate, asked me about Intel. I said, I love the deal. Look, the president was very excited about, the 10% deal with that we were investing into Intel. I love the deal with NVIDIA and Intel. Look, they're bringing it home, as I've been saying, right? You're bringing chipset manufacturing back home. NVIDIA loves this. It helps our own people. It puts people to work. The manufacturing of it, a few of them. But is Intel over? It's a $5 billion deal. Intel itself is worth $142 billion. NVIDIA. Let's see, is it back over? Yeah, it's 4.28 trillion. So what NVIDIA did is shake out their pant leg and shook some dollar bills out and said, "Here you go, Intel, and let's make a public, public relations media or something, No, I don't think so. And I said yesterday that I would be shorting Intel and selling it. I don't like the short stocks. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't want to short US stocks like that are trying to do well. It doesn't make me happy. So I haven't shorted it, but I definitely wouldn't be buying it up here.
Yeah, that's sort of how I feel on it too here. Citi, not afraid to short it. They've downgraded the shares to sell from neutral, saying the stock is pricing in success, like you're saying, in its leading edge foundry business that it believes has minimal chance to succeed. So Citi's not buying the deal. So interesting to see that. So far, Steve, tick has been pretty good here since we've been on. So you've been talking the market up, I guess. SPY jumped up 6 basis points, QQQ up 32 basis points. So we are seeing a little bit of a move to the upside. Crypto retraced overnight. Bitcoin struggling to stay above 116. You know, it's funny how negative you can feel, and then you look and say, "Wow, we're at 116." So I'm not going to complain about a little pullback to 116 today. There. WTI,
but it was at 118 and it held up there for a little while. It gets, it was at 113. It struggled at 113.
113 to 118 is the range right now. Right. You just nailed it. We see the big order book, at 113. The liquidity is there, and on the upside, 118. So that's where we're at right now. It's just ranging. It's just ranging right now. Steve, WTI down another 50 basis points here, 62.73. Brent down to 66.54. Also, you already mentioned the results. The treasuries moving up today. What is also, it did pull off a little bit here in the last 20 minutes or so. DXY had made a nice run up to 97.80, now back down at 97.67. Like you said, we'll have Mr. Flanagan later to talk everything. Oh, there he is, as you say that. Mr. Flanagan in here to talk everything about currencies today. Did see, we're going to have to ask him about Bank of Japan. They decided to hold tight at their interest rate overnight. And then I also saw the UK highest financing fees for their debt in history happened here yesterday or overnight, I guess. So we've got a lot of questions for him later on. So Mr. Flanagan, get your coffee ready. We'll be ready for you soon enough. What else are you looking at, Steve? Anything else this morning?
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to share my screen if I can, Howard. And I like to do this, and I call it. And I'm going to see if I can do this right here. Yeah, there you go. I call it channel checks, right? And I like to go to stores and see what's going on. And I typed in my Twitter, right? I typed in Apple lines, meaning I want to know what the lines are like at the stores, and they're astronomical. I mean, if you just go through these things, these lines are they're fighting in India over the iPhone, right? I mean, they're just going crazy over. Look at the lines there. It's not just the United States for this new phone. And this morning, Tim Cook said this is a big jump over the last phone. I mean, I have to go, because you know what? Even me, who's been 3 decades not owning an iPhone, I don't think I ever have, to be honest with you. This is not the United States.
I'm away on you on that, because while I'm with you, in general, the one thing that I will say is I'm getting a lot of free offers. I'm getting a lot, you always tell me to watch channel checks on that too. Are they making you buy the iPhone, or are they giving it to you? It's the same result for Apple, I guess. But it does show
they don't make their money on the phone as much as they do on the services, right? They want you in that ecosystem.
Right. The T-Mobile, they want that residual $100 a month that you pay on the bill. But I will say that I've noticed that that's another thing, that it's a much more aggressive than the iPhone last year. That would be the difference.
I agree.
Which I'm happy about. I need one, and the wife and I were just discussing today, this weekend. We're going to sit down and make our decisions there on which ones we need or want and so forth. So I'm with you. I'm a buyer.
I mean, you know me, Howard. I just can't help it. I have to always have the greatest, the best that they have, right? So.
Yeah, I usually get the Max myself. It's more probably for the wife. Is she interested in that, or would she like a smaller one where she does not use it as much, except for to play around on TikTok and things like that? Yeah. Not as much for business. So we'll decide this weekend. Like I said, Kevin, Steve, I've got a funny one for you. You watch Kevin Durant on CNBC this morning?
I think what's funnier is I think it's his agent was saying, "I'm so happy he didn't sell his Bitcoin because I get 50% of it, right, or 20, whatever the percentage is."
Had done a promotional thing with Coinbase back 3-4 years ago. Had been paid in Bitcoin, and then he lost his password. So it can happen to the best of us. Lost his ability to access his Coinbase account. Was kind of foolish, as he might need a new agent because it wouldn't be very hard for them to reach out like what happened. And Brian Armstrong immediately on seeing the show called up Kevin Durant personally and said, "Here's your password. You can get back in." So he is back in his Coinbase account.
And it means that they can get it for you if they need it. So I don't want to hear the
nonsense. It was the Coinbase account he lost. He didn't lose a seed phrase. He didn't lose his wallet keys. He lost it on a custodial wallet. What it does show, though, is why you want to self-custody your Bitcoin is exactly that. Is that if they can get it, so can somebody else. So we'll see what happens there. But I thought that was a funny one. And like you said, the funnier part was that his agent was going just absolutely bonkers about the fact that he's happy with diamond hands. That's one way to make diamond hands. Is because
he talked about some of his original Bitcoin that he owned that he sold at like 300 and he sold it like all kinds of things. So he's like, he was happy that he actually held it up 100,000%. Right, that's what he was talking about. So I like that. Yeah.
So we are about 2 minutes to the open here. Tick is still up, and we do see the SPY and the Q still moving slightly to the upside here. VIX has pulled back about 2.5%. Like I said, we did not see the expected volatility at the end of yesterday that we normally see going into quad witching. And a big part, as Steve mentioned on that, could really be the fact that they that the zero DTEs are sort of already baking this in and cutting down on that volatility a little bit.
It's what it kind of feels like. I like the answer that Jim Iorio gave to me yesterday. So yeah. Oh my, yeah. So yeah. I the one that I kind of am interested in and not buying, but is to see and to see how the sales are going is the iPhone Air. That's the one that I'm interested in because they pushed that so hard and we're not seeing sales of that yet. So I want to see the sales of iPhone Air and see how that's doing. All right, we're now open here, 241.17.
We are open here. Q's first move to the upside. So first move to the upside.
Oof. 241.50 now. Let's get up there, Apple. Donut DNUT 382 now at 5% here.
Let's see here. Q's taking a little bit of profit taken. We see here. We look at the Mag 7 Apple. There you go, Steve. 242.30 there. Nice move to the upside. Hopefully you can get out of those 240 calls a little profit here today. Or you gonna roll
next Friday? So I think I'm gonna keep them. Yeah, I'm gonna
keep them. To roll them, you think, or are you gonna?
Well, I have them for next Friday, so I'm okay. Yeah.
Friday. I thought it was this Friday. Sorry.
No, the next Friday. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm gonna keep them. $242 still there on Apple there. Ticked down 300 though, but WTI 62.78. Silver back to 42.18. I mean, can we get back to 43, baby? Let's go.
$241.96. Here we go. Moving to the upside. NVIDIA pulling back a little bit here. Most of them, Tesla taking off again, Steve. It's a good thing you didn't really short your man Musk there. Like I said, it's held up really well.
I still want to. I'm not gonna lie. I still want to, but it's out of control. The stock's ridiculous at this point. Come on, come on, come on, Apple. Let's go, baby. Let's go. I mean, the selling at Apple, I mean, just it's crazy. It's like they're selling the phone. There's lines everywhere. I would not be short Apple stock right now.
Tick has gone slightly down here. DXY selling off a little bit here this morning. Dow Jones opens up 21 basis points here. But again, now moving back to the downside from the high of the morning, but nicely above 46,200 here, Steve. Man, we just, that 46, it's starting to leave it a little bit in the dust here. SPY at 661.82, slightly below its all-time high. It hit yesterday at 664.89. And I have to mention that the Q's NASDAQ also hit an all-time high yesterday at 598.14. So
you want another stock that I'm interested in, and it's going to shock everybody? Peloton, PTON.
Really?
Like I said, it's going to shock you a little bit. Yeah. I think Peloton may be coming out of its doldrums here. 242.
Was a fan of that one himself too. I don't get it. I think it's had its time. I don't know.
Well, Peloton is not about the bike; it's about the people on the bike that are
people who buy those bikes don't worry about money, so to speak. So it's a little bit more insulated. But I would think that the last thing you're buying going into maybe a recession, as you said, and during stagflation, would be a $1,000 at-home bicycle. That's what worries me there on that one.
Selling here a little bit.
Yeah, a little again, you're going to see some moves both ways. There are people that have, option 0 DTEs, all those things, all around the place. So,
I think it's dumb. I mean, it's buying. I mean, the lines at Apple are just outright. It's just crazy right now, and I like it. And I said that I was like, what? Show me what the lines are like. Tell me what's going on, and I'll be able to answer that question for people. And there it is. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, I'm always an Apple fan, unlike you, so it doesn't surprise me. Nice move up by the Mag 7. Shows you where the 0 DTEs are all sort of lined up at here. Kind of curious at what MongoDB is usually a big 0 DTE player. Up 2%. Yep, there you go. Mongo always wondered.
And others have sent a letter to Secretary Bessent. I don't know what the letter is yet, but I guess she's back in the news again. What the heck? I don't. She just needs to go away. Look, I understand that she's probably frustrated with some of the ideas of this administration, but at the same time, yeah, you need to understand finance. You can't be, I'm sorry. This isn't.
She's the ranking member for the Democrats, and
as I said, you don't understand finance. I don't get it. Right?
It's one of those things that upsets me there. In general, as you know, is that, and she's not the only one. Both sides, thank God. Well, I don't want to say it that way, I guess, but the former Ohio senator that we voted out here and replaced with Bernie Moreno, who used to be the chairman, Mr. Sherrod Brown, again, another guy who had no clue about banks and banking, but who had a lot of comments and a lot of influence on what happened and led to the debanking of the crypto industry for years.
Another run here on Apple, if we can get it back up. Russell 2000 hitting a new high here, intraday high here. Woohoo, go! Look, I'm telling you, the markets can be irrational longer than we can be rational. I mean, I'm not saying the market crashes tomorrow, right? But I'm saying it's coming, and I'm saying it's setting itself up. I just don't want to be the person sitting there holding the bag, going, "Oh, well, I knew about it." Some of us have some pretty big wins here, and I want to take some of that to the bank.
Yeah, in fact, we're sending out a partial exit on that Circle play that we've been talking about that we put out yesterday, right about this time on the show, the call Condor has paid off, and we're going to take some exit here, partial exit. So excited about that.
Unity Software, we've been talking about that for a while. Unity now 46.18, up another 1.6% today. Palantir at 179 now in Palantir. Oof.
Okay, Marilyn, I think you were in that circle. We just sent it out. Partial credit for $3 there. So nice.
Oh wow,
win.
good for you guys. Ooh, $3 credit. Oof.
Nice win there. Let's see if I can get out of that myself. Okay, sorry. This thing's going to be confusing as heck for me. Steve, what else you watching here?
I'm watching
negative 35. Advanced decline's gone negative 700 here.
Yeah.
SPY negative 10. Dow is even on the day. So we're seeing the sell-off come in here. Bitcoin down a little bit.
Watch the Dixie here, 97.60, trying to push up a bit. I think the international numbers on the iPhone is going to be outrageous.
I do agree. I think that they're going to be big. I do think they're going to be big.
Yeah, I guess it didn't hold. They're 240, under 241 now on Apple.
Yeah, that's like I said today. Well, but today again, if you can't watch that by the minute today for that.
No, I'm definitely not. I'm definitely longer term on this one, and I'm very heavy. For those of you who don't know, I'm very heavy Apple. I think the numbers here are very good here, but I don't think this market is too long on the tooth right now.
Staying negative here so far. Zora, how are you doing today? Nice to see you. Nice move up by Oklo again. Nice. Says Ron. Yeah, 10%. Definitely nice move to the upside there. Plug up 7.62% and running here also. So plug running. Qubit running a little bit here, up 4.14. Rigetti up 3.6. So it looks like today is the quantum computing day. Ondas holding up also. CIFR, the crypto mining company, Cipher Mining, up also here this morning. ASST still up 7%. Chime up 3% here today. Not going to help my dead call spread there. We don't win them all. EOS Energy up 3.78. So some of the early morning winners are still moving to the upside here. Wow, Plug continuing to move up. Nice move to the upside here. Apple back above 241 here after dropping down a little bit. We do see all 7 of the Mag 7 to the upside so far.
AMD down 0.5%. Tesla's up almost 2.5% here.
Yeah. Robinhood having a nice day again, up 1.2%. Robinhood's made a nice little resurgence there, back up to that 122 area, Steve. So flirting with its all-time highs again. Steve, you're core. Oh no, you were a core weave guy. Never mind, wrong one. Mixed bag across chips. AVGO getting hit pretty hard here. TSM getting hit pretty hard, both down over 1%. Micron really getting hit down about 3.53% so far.
Qs are pushing back up a bit here.
UNH 336, nice move to the upside.
Yeah, I see UNH back to 380 somewhere around September, into September, early October.
Yeah.
Yeah, Palantir at 180. It's just a little too rich for my blood on Palantir.
Orb is up 8.9%. 8Co. So crypto mining companies, again, or treasury companies, I should say, move to the upside. That's now Orbs. Used to be Octo. Nice move to the upside, 8.84%. Tick still negative here, SPY. Dow Jones has picked back up. Mag 7 is carrying the Qs, though, so far. All of them all to the upside. When we start to look around the indices here of the S&P, real estate's negative, financials are negative, and materials is negative along with the energy. Biggest winner on the day so far is XLY, consumer discretionary. Surprising there. Tick down 435, so still seeing a little bit of a sell-off here.
It's pretty quiet considering it's a quad witching day.
It is. It is a little quiet, not going to lie.
Palantir now over the 180 handle here.
Tick now down 430.
Still holding a little bit here on silver. Tick now down 239. We should see a push here now, the upside. See what I'm seeing? Institutions are selling, retail are buying. It's what's happening right now. It's exactly what's happening right now.
Yeah.
A couple of days ago, someone was mentioning to me on another show that, oh, well, the retail has always been leading in the last 5 years. They have not. Just make it very clear. They have not been leading. They've not been right. They get stocks right sometimes, but they don't get the overall direction right. And they you know, when people don't really understand that the market is a machine, right? When there's a buyer, there's a seller. It's just depending on where the price actually is, where the sellers are. So if the institutions are selling higher, that means that the retailer has to buy up there. So it doesn't make sense to me. I just we're seeing NEGG a little bit here.
Good.
Newegg again a little bit. It'll pop there, up 20% here.
Wow, nice.
That seems a little rich for my blood, to be honest with you.
It's already started to pull back from a high of 55.
Oh,
Qubit, the big winner so far, up 15.59% on the quantum move to the upside today. As you said, Rigetti up 6.39 here today also. A lot of them. SoFi, nice little pump up here, up about 4.38%. I feel like we say it every day. IREN, IREN up another 4% here today. SoundHound. So today is an AI up and a quantum computing up day for sure.
I think I missed the short there on Newegg.
Oracle up another 2.34%. Nice move to the upside here. Laggards have all found buyers in general here.
Yep.
So we do see people buying the dip now. Bitcoin back above 116.4 here. So a little bit of a move to the upside off the lows of the day here. Still looking weak though. Ethereum, same thing. DXY at low of the days too, pulling back a little bit here. Well, not lows of the day, but lows of the cash market. Apple back above 240, Steve, trying to push to the upside for you there. Carvana, we talked about that yesterday. Charlie said, look forward to set an all-time high, up another 2% here today, 386.
Tick now up 154. Qs are pushing up.
Yeah. Coal's up 3.57% today. Gold regaining steam here, up at 36.60 or so. Silver back above 42, Steve.
241.30 now on Apple. Could be a nice push here.
We'll say banks taking a little bit of a hit here today. JP Morgan down 90 basis points. Wells Fargo, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, and Bank of America all on the downside right now. Q's trying to break back to highs of the day here, just trying to break to its all-time high. 598.14 there would be all-time high. Tesla up 2.59%, still moving the upside here. 427. Said don't fade that Musk guy. Mag 7 looking strong so far. Space looking good today. ASTS up 4% here this morning.
Tick just went off the charts here. Tick up 500 here.
Yeah. ASTS high of the day, 43.27, so it's still moving to the upside. Some of these pumpers are still moving to the upside for sure. Qubit down to up 22.18% here towards the high of its day. Rigetti now up 9.34%. Continuing to be a strong day there. TripAdvisor up 4.16% here today. Don't see any real news there. Q set another all-time high here, so NASDAQ set an all-time high.
Yeah, but we're not making big highs. It's not like we're going crazy and going the upside, right? That's what sets tops, right? That's exactly what makes tops happen.
It's up 5% on the month. If you extrapolate that out, it's not a bad little move to the upside. Does look like Amazon getting a little. Some of the Mag 7 starting to get a little top heavy here.
Yeah, I mean, it's to me, it's just not 116.5 though on Bitcoin though. That's interesting.
Microsoft, nice move to the upside here today. That doesn't seem to be slowing down, up 1.12%. I mentioned yesterday, that's the one that seems to have the most upside to me, sitting right at its 50-day MA. You're seeing a little bit of a pullback plug here now, up 6%. It had been up higher. Clean Spark, nice move up, 1380. Just broke key resistance here. I know that makes Ron Williams very happy. Lennar starting to find a bottom buyer here.
Silver pushing 42.27, so gold and silver pushing up.
Advanced decline down about 692, so it's come off the lows of the day, but it's not moving all that well to the upside here. So we're not seeing a big move. It seems to be a few things that are moving the market, especially the Mag 7 seems to be a big part of today's move to what is moving to the upside so far. Do see our main man, Mr. Flanagan, in. Let's get him in here, ask him what's going on with the DXY today. Steve Flanagan, how are you doing this morning?
Good morning, gents. I'm doing really good. You know, I love when a good plan starts to come together. As we said, we were watching that Dixie level very, very carefully. We took out the pattern higher lows that got knocked out. And what did we yesterday? We dropped down to a low of 96.22, taking out the July 1st low of 96.38. But this is where you got to love currencies. Where are we right now? 96, 97, 71, 61. And last week's close was 96.65. 97.62. I got my big figures wrong there. So, new low and threatening to close higher on the week. Couldn't ask for a better situation right now. I do expect selling.
What is the better situation here? Are you telling me we're going to go higher, Steve? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, we just lost him.
Oh, we lose him?
Uh-oh. They don't want him to, they don't want the man doesn't want us to get that answer here. Let's see if we can get him back in.
Back in here, see what he has to say. Yeah, I like that.
Tick still fairly negative here, 390 to the downside. Advanced declines move back down 820 negative here. So we are seeing some more selling. The RUT, which we know the small caps have had all the momentum lately, they are actually negative about 8 basis points. Same with the SPY. Qs are up, but at 40 basis points here, pulled off a little bit from their highs at 598.43. And again, SPY is the one also that has just gone a little bit negative. I do see him coming back in here. We'll see if we can get him. Mr. Flanagan, they tried to silence you there.
Wow, I don't know. What did I say? I must have hit the wrong number.
Keep pounding that F9 key, baby.
Yeah. So, my point is you put a new low in, broke the chart pattern. Everything is looking as bearish as could be. And now you're threatening 97.58 right now. Now you're threatening to take out last week's close of 97.62. Were we to close above this level, 97.62, you couldn't look at a better bullish pattern here because the scramble for the exit is going to be quick. And real quick, I just want to get this out there. We're coming into the home stretch. Next week, we go into the end or beginning of the end with 2 weeks or so many trading days left of the month. And the baseball season and the Yankees are coming. Watch out, Howard. But
there's a baseball season? I didn't even know.
Yeah, you're going to start hearing this.
You're right.
You're going to start hearing the MSCI rating index now.
Okay, hold on before you say that, Steve Flanagan. I love this. This is very good. Education time for everybody. Explain to everybody here what the MSCI is.
Yeah, so it's a Morgan Stanley Capital International Investment Index that every major fund, and we're talking, hundreds of billions, if not trillions, managed by these portfolio managers, they benchmark themselves off of this index. Right now, this index, as of today, shows that you should be 69.81% overweight in the dollar equity market, the U.S. stock market. And we know, look at all these articles out today. I mean, just hit a newswire, dollar at new lows. Yes, because people are buying U.S. assets and they are immediately hedging their dollar by selling the dollar. Now, coming into quarter 3 close at the end of September, everybody, all these big machines plug it into the computers, and the computers begin to execute. Remember, in the financial markets, you've got a seesaw. You can invest in everything. But at the middle of that seesaw, the fulcrum is the foreign exchange rate. And the foreign exchange rate right now is at the dead lows, as we just talked about. Hits the lows and suddenly bounces back. You start to set a pattern here of a higher weekly close coming into the home stretch of Q3 end, and you're going to find with such an overweight stance in the dollar, in the U.S. equity markets, that you could unleash this dollar move. Now, does that mean that the equities come off? Steve, you've been hammering home, hey, I don't know when, I don't know where, but you're getting very topish type. It's quite possible that you begin to see a corresponding take profit in equities.
Yeah.
But it's the dollar index that I'm focusing on, because as equities correct, you want to get back in on the dip.
Steve, why is it so hard for retail right now to see a top? Everybody I talk to in the retail industry right now is saying, "Oh, we're going higher because we got our rate cuts, and we're gonna get more rate cuts, and we're gonna." It's so childish to hear that to me, right? I mean, Steve, you and I have been in the institutional world forever, and we've been on the front lines of all this, and we see it so clearly. Why is it hard for retail to see a top?
Because retail is kind of that thing that's in perpetual motion, always buying, always selling. So they're going to be able to take both sides of the coin. But when you start to see Open or BBAI, and they're going up 7-8% in a day, even some of the big names, when they're jumping up 5%, I don't want to miss out on this. Yeah, that's that favorite line in the markets, fear of missing out. Yeah, but this, you're getting 3+, 5%, 8-10% moves. Look at even Oracle after its earnings. When you start to see moves like that, that's going to attract retail, because where else can you get a 5+% move in a day?
Right.
So that's why they become addicted, and they begin to fuel these moves. And they're not necessarily wrong. It's just that, I guess, kind of what I wanted to talk about today is be aware, echoing, Steve, what you've been saying. And you and I can both be right. I think by the year end, we're substantially higher in U.S. equities. But
you think so?
Yes, between here and the end of the month, watch out.
Okay. Yeah. What about the end of the year, though? A lot of people have been asking me on the air, trying to put me on the spot about where we're going to be at the end of the year. And I've been saying sideways. I don't think of higher highs, and I don't think lower. I think sideways. I think we have choppy all the way out. What do you see, Steve?
I think that, no, Steve, I think we're going to be substantially higher, substantially greater than 5% from present levels.
You do, right?
But I will admit that there are some troubling things.
But wait. Substantially, does that really mean 5% higher, though? Is that substantial?
Well, given that we're at all-time highs,
right?
A 5% extension from here.
So what I'm saying is, why am I trying to eke out another 5% when I think the downside is 17% or bigger?
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you there. As we go up, look, the higher you go up, the sharper the corrections can be.
Right.
And I think anybody who's jumping in and getting long today at the highs has to be prepared for a 10% downside move.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Makes sense.
But having seen a 10% downside move, better get back into that market, because it's going to keep going up. So I am a 2 to 3 year longer term, very bullish.
Yeah. And I think I agree with you on that. I think 5 years from now, we'll be way higher than we are today.
But
I'm talking about till the end of the year, right? You think higher by 5% going into the end of the year. Okay. All right.
Yeah. But some troubling aspects going here. while we're all focused here between Trump and Xi meeting, let's hope that there's positive news there. Then we got Modi coming up, and then let's hope there's positive news there. These are the type of news events that could carry us to those levels. But let's look here today and now. What's going on in France? You go into your X and type in France. I mean, there are massive riots beginning to go on that never seem to get covered in the European news, but you can see them. There are millions of people that are striking. The unions have absolutely called nationwide strikes against the, hey, what's that? This is the third government that's collapsed.
And here's my point. It's my point. We have access to data now better than ever. And people just are ignoring the data. They're ignoring the politics. They're just ignoring everything. Just buying. It's like indiscriminate. It feels like tulips. I mean, like, I don't care. I want a tulip. Can't help it. I got to have an iPhone.
Yeah,
I'm guilty. But why are we not seeing that? Why is the massive public not seeing the as was called to me yesterday, the cracks in the floor here with job losses? We're not seeing the cracks in all with margin debt. Why are they just ignoring all that?
And Steve, this is the perfect platform that Quasar Markets is pushing out there, to educate people, to show them that, listen, invest. Yeah, we're all bullish, but be aware that France has got major political problems. They're running at 120% of GDP their deficit. Meanwhile, just to give you, Germany is like 62%. So France is way out there. And at some point in time, the number 2 economy in Europe is going to be called in and said, we're going to fine you in the European Commission unless you get your budget deficit in order. Now, we may be looking at France going, they're looking to make the retirement age from 62 to 64. Whoop, whoop, right? And we don't see that as a big deal. But in France, this is a country that up until not that long ago had lifetime employment. You couldn't lay people off. So a lot of things going. The UK, they've got a big budget coming up, and they're having some big problems. So watch out for that news coming. Japan passed on raising interest rates yesterday. And what did they come out and say? This blew my mind. Japan is going to begin to sell 330 billion yen, which is about 2.3 billion, of their $508 billion stock portfolio. Now, what does that mean to everyone? Japan has been buying their stock market to support the financial markets as they fought 25 years of deflation. Yep. Well, they just announced they're going to begin to sell it off. We called it quantitative tightening here in America, which we've begun easing off of, meaning that we're extinguishing liquidity in the U.S., but this is a long story. But in Japan, they're now going to begin to sell their equity portfolio in the market. Now, is it a big amount? 2.3 billion a year? No, not necessarily, but it's the signal that it sends. Another thing, Steve, into your watch the little, things out here in the world are beginning to indicate that we may be in a bit of a topping formation. Does not mean we're going 25% lower. But
I agree with that. Yeah, we're not that much. But I do think 12 to 17% is where we're at, somewhere in the round that is going to pull back.
Yeah, I'm a 10%er right now. I think you can see that. So I would like to agree with you on that. But
it's a healthy pullback. It's not a bad thing. We need a pullback in order to go forward, right? But it just seems to me that everybody right now, and I say everybody, not the institutions. Institutions are like laughing there all the way to the bank. Why is it? I mean, and I'm really concerned because retail are going to lose. Here's my overall problem. Retail, I love it. I love retail. I love what they're doing. I love the thought process behind it, and I agree with them in a lot of ways. But when they lose their money to institutions, they don't have any money to put back in. right? So they're not prepared for this sell-off. And when it does come, they're like, oh, now what do I do? Oh, and now I don't have a job. See, in the past, it's been, I can buy the dip because I'll just, my next job, I'll just put money back in and I'll continue to feed the beast, as I've been calling it. But this might be a little bit different now. And I'm concerned. I'm concerned that they won't have the money to do that.
A big subject, but I'll try to keep it short. The inequalities in the equity market long vanished in the currency markets. In the currency markets, if you execute a trade, you could turn to the person that you executed and said, show me my fill. In other words, I want to see a detailed analysis of where my trade was executed in the marketplace. In the equity space, when you buy and sell through any of these places that you trade through, do you know what the actual price of your execution? When you go, I'm trying to pick the top. If you leave a limit order, that's different. But when you go in and sell, you may sell at 97.12. Meanwhile, the firm that took your order may be sold at 97.15. Now, that doesn't sound like very much. It's pennies, really, when we're dealing in small amounts. But when you take the critical mass of absorbing all of this retail market, these big giant firms, they make money no matter what.
No matter what.
They're always clipping you.
They're making okay. That's a great line, and you clipping. Okay, so you and I understand what clipping means. Explain clipping to people who may not understand what that means.
So the market is showing, let's say stock X is trading at 14.3 and the bid, and the offer is 14.5.
So the bid is 14.3, the ask is 14.5. So there's the spread. We call it spread, right? So explain clipping.
So they live on that spread. So I go in and say sell, and they say, okay, 14.3. That's what they're showing on the screen. Okay, you're done at 14.3. Meanwhile, through a variety of high-frequency methods, they can either distribute your order out to another player, some of the high-frequency trading firms, or they could execute it in their own internalized pool of trading. And maybe they sell it at 14.4. So you sold at 14.3, and they sell it at 14.44, let's say. And they make 0.0144. Now, that doesn't sound like much. It's pennies. However, when you take that they do 5 billion or 10 billion in volume and they're clipping 0.015, they're suddenly making 150,000 a day, roughly. I'm just throwing numbers out there. But 150 a day is 300, 600, 750 million a week just executing all these orders. They don't care if it's a buy or a sell. That doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. So this is a vast inequality that exists.
And this is why the Robin Hoods of the world, this is exactly why they're okay with giving away the data. It's okay. They're okay with making your trade free because you are the product.
You trade free, and the firm that they give that data, that execution to, pays them money to give them the flow.
Why doesn't the average person understand that? What does it take for us to explain that?
Well, it's coming, Steve. There are a number of firms out there that are beginning to make headway in taking some of what I would call the foreign exchange execution method of transparency for all.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, what I mean by transparency to all, I'm going to make, this is what they tell the retail guy, I'm going to make 0.015 off of your trades.
Yeah.
Just so we understand up front. And you say, okay, I'm fine with that. There is an agreement.
So you think that that's the key, that when people sign up with the agreements, that, because 9 times out of 10 people sign agreements, they don't know what they're signing. They're just like, yeah, sign, just get it. I want to trade. right? And they don't really understand that they're the product, right? That people are taking their data and distributing it. They're telling their ideas. They're distributing it long before you make the trade. When you make the trade, they're making money off you. This is the opposite of where it used to be back in the day, right? Where you paid $50 a trade. I mean, do you remember the days when you paid $50 in and it's $100 round trip, right? I mean, round trip means that $50 to in and $50 out is your commission, right? It was crazy.
And why should we be paying? It's an electronic trade. The cost of an electronic trade is down to pennies.
So yeah.
There's no reason for anyway. More equality in the equity market is coming. It will be, and it will give the retail investor a heck of a lot more power. But why shouldn't the retail investor be able to look at the same data that the institution? Why should institutions?
Yeah, that's why we're going to price our markets.
Exactly, Steve. Why should institutions, though, have news before it hits the market?
Because they pay for it, and they pay for it with the retail traders,
right?
And that's the key that nobody not understands. And when I talk to retail traders, they don't really get that, right? Oh, well, they understand it, but it's no big deal because we're going to make 5% on this freaking Rigetti stock, right? Or whatever the stock is that I'm looking at stocks today. It doesn't matter. I want people to understand how the trades are being made, how the mechanics of it works, and how to make them better, right? And make them better traders, because I don't want people to get screwed in this market. There's already enough bad people as there is.
The day's coming. There'll be better equality. However, the big and let's just end it like this. If the stock market were to maybe come off to 10%, or as you say, maybe 15 or 17%. If it does come off, right? When the next quarter comes out and you see the bank earnings, do you think that their earnings were sideways, lower, or were they yet again up at a new record? Because of the volatility that comes in the market, they make money on either side of this trade. That's the whole thing that, the transparency to execute. Why should I not be able to execute my trade directly into the marketplace? Why don't we have a marketplace of buyers and sellers for IBM stock, and I want to buy and sell? Why do I have to go in to
I think the argument could be made that they provide the liquidity, right? That they're playing against you.
A liquidity provider has rights. Absolutely. That's what I did for my whole career. No question. However, a liquidity provider is making money on just about every side of that trade.
And that's why they're doing it, right? I mean, they're doing it they're saying, okay, because I think people don't understand that when I buy my Apple stock or my Apple options, there's somebody selling them to me, right? It's not unless they're just out in the open and I'm buying stuff that are just sitting on the open market. There could be, right? There's not as much, but someone's making a deal with me, right? And it's usually not the other person on the side. It's not usually a retailer. It's usually the institution,
right? And I'm not talking about some new problem here, just for the viewers here. This has been here forever.
How does the retail not understand? These things have been around forever. The problems are still the same, but somehow the institutions are able to hide all that, and they don't care anyway. And the Robin Hoods, the world took advantage of it.
So, I mean, you want to read some books? Flash Boys. That's your first one that shows about You want to read a book about the early 1900s? Go into Memories of a Stock Picker. What was that called?
Yes, of course. Reminiscence of a Stock Operator.
Reminiscence of a Stock Operator. That'll tell you, read. That's a fast read. It's a small book, but guess what? It'll show you in very slower terms the way people used to trade, but the same inequalities that exist today. So it's inherent in its marketplace. I believe that the structure of the electronic world, it will in time break that down in the equity market. So it's a great subject, Steve, but we're coming into a big week ahead. Watch where the dollar index closes. If we get above this 97.62 last week's low, having put a new low into the chart in such a dollar negative period, You're coming in where the big machinery is going to be reweighting themselves against MSCI indexes. And this could be, I think this would be a great time to probably grab some volatility.
That I agree with. We'll leave it at that. Steve Flanagan, I will not see this week. I mean, I'm in New York City next week. You're still down here, but I'm on the floor all week. We're doing some TV shows up there, but I look forward to seeing you and Howard when I get back. And I do think you're right. I think we expect to be 98, 98.50 on the Dixie, higher than we are right now.
All right, Steve, let's keep in touch.
All right, brother.